And Amazon also under fire for paying zero federal tax last year. And they're also going to be dodging the tax bill again this year. That's thanks to a cocktail of tax credits, loopholes, and also exemptions. Joining us now, Kristen Myers, to talk more about it. Kristen, how is it possible that a company of the scale and magnitude of Amazon could get away with this?
Right. So $11.2 billion in profits. That's nearly double what they had made a year before. And as you mentioned, they've got this special blend of tax credits and loopholes that they've been able to use to avoid essentially all tax liability, at least in the United States.
Okay. Before we become too critical of it, is there any way to compare whether the new tax policies under President Trump that have been implemented allowed for this to happen, or can we compare what they're paying this year to what they were paying the previous year?
Right, so that's a really good question. So this is the second year that they're actually going to be avoiding paying federal tax, but this is going to be the first time that they're going to avoid paying federal tax under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. That's the TCJA, that new Trump tax cuts, right? Mm-hmm. What's interesting, though, is that President Trump had very publicly lampooned Amazon and Jeff Bezos essentially for how little they paid in tax, and then his own tax policy has continued to allow Amazon and other corporations, I do have to say they're not alone in this, to avoid paying federal tax. But Netflix is another one.
To be fair, it's not just like it's his tax policy. These loopholes existed for corporations for a long time, and they know how to work the system.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing illegal about this, right? I mean, a lot of these corporations have been criticized for years about how little they pay and how little their effective tax rate is compared to what the tax rate is supposed to be. It used to be 35%, now it's 21%. I think what's interesting is that a lot of politicians have said, look, these new tax policies that we're going to come out with, they're going to close these loopholes, close these special interests, and they're not doing that at all.
There's so much going on with Amazon. It's not just this piece of the story. You've got them pulling the headquarters out of New York City. Right. You've got a personal and very private scandal occurring in Jeff Bezos' life right now, spread across the newspapers. It's really sort of seems like a tumultuous time for a company that is so important and needs to be so laser focused on what it's doing. And I think the concern from a lot of investors is that all these things are distracting from each other.
I mean, we haven't seen that play out, though, right? I mean, they absolutely have been going through a tumultuous time. Their growth is slowing down, so there's going to be a lot of concern there for investors. They say they're going to be increasing their spending on investments. But I mean, look, HQ2, I don't think something like that is going to hurt Amazon in the long run. There obviously are questions. They obviously wanted to.
It hurts New York more than
it hurts Amazon. Exactly. It hurts New York more than it hurts Amazon. And I think they're going to be continuing to grow. I think we have a lot of questions, though, there. I mean, Walmart came out with their earnings. Obviously, they've been able to take away some of Amazon's base. But again, I don't know if all of this is really going to hurt Amazon in the long run, some of these more almost personal issues that they've been going through.
What about a rough year at the box office, taking a hit on what they're doing in terms of their movies?
Right, so Amazon wanted to move into this self-distribution space when it came to movies, and they've just had box office flop after box office flop. Now, there are some reasons, I think, for that. Woody Allen's films were a big flop. That's Wonder Wheel that had come out.
I like that movie.
I actually haven't seen it, but there's a lot of sexual assault and sexual harassment scandals that have followed Woody Allen, and I think that was part of the reason why some of those movies had failed, and also one of the reasons why Amazon is not going to be taking up his films going forward. That's actually a part of a whole lawsuit that Woody Allen has with Amazon. But they've decided to switch up their strategy a little bit when it comes to film as they move into this self-distribution space, mainly in diversifying the types of films that they're going to be coming out with. Mainly, they've been focusing on these big, Oscar-worthy contenders, and they now say, hey, we're going to do, your cute Saturday date night movie, which will go straight to Amazon Prime, in addition to some, big blockbuster hits that are going to go out to the theaters.
All right, Kristen, great to see you. Absolutely. Thanks so much.